I was just thinking about the way it's supposed to be. I'll eat the plants and the fruit from the trees, and I'll live on vegetables, and I'll grow on seeds. But I don't need animals, and they don't need me. Oh no, I don't need animals, 'cause I love them, you see. I don't need animals, I want nothing dead in me. I don't eat white flour, white sugar makes you rot. Oh, white could be beautiful, but mostly it's not. A little bit of wholemeal, some raisins and cheese. But I don't need animals, and they don't need me. Oh no, I don't need animals, 'cause I love them, you see. I don't need animals, I want nothing dead in me. A little bit of wholemeal, some raisins and cheese. I'll eat the plants and the fruit from the trees, and I'll live on vegetables, and I'll grow on seeds. But I won't need animals, and they won't need me. Oh no, I'll live on life, I want nothing dead in me. You know, I'll become life, and my life will become me. You know, I'll live on life, and my life will live on me.
Tá bom?
Tá, mas come seu nhoque de polvo.
Ah, mãe, tá bom. Esse polvo não é de verdade, né?
Não.
Então tá. Ele nem fala e nem cabeça tem, né? Você tem cabeça dele.
Não tem cabeça. Isso
Tá
aí
bom.
é só as perninhas do polvo picada.
Ah, e a cabeça dele tá no mar?
Tá lá na peixaria.
O monstro cortou assim?
Cortou.
O quê?
Pra gente poder comer, porque senão a gente ia ter que engolir inteiro.
Mas por quê?
É pra comer, amor. Igual corta o boi, corta a galinha.
Ah, a carinha? Ninguém come também.
Ninguém come a galinha?
É os animais.
É?
É.
Mas vamos comer o nhoque? Come a batata, então.
Só batata e só arroz.
Tá,
Nem polvo é os animais.
tá bom.
Todos esses são os animais. Peixe é os animais. Polvo é os animais. Cães é os animais. Vaca é os animais. Porco é os animais.
É.
Então, outros tem que comer os animais, eles morrem.
É.
Por quê?
Pra gente poder comer, meu amor.
Porque eles morrem. Não gosto que eles morrem. Eu gosto que eles ficam em pé. É isso.
Então tá bom. Então a gente não vai comer mais não, tá bom?
Tá. Esses animais tem que cuidar deles, não comer.
Tá certo, meu filho. Então come a parte da batata e do arroz.
Tá bom. Por que você tá sonhando?
Não tô chorando, não.
Ah,
Eu tô emocionada com você.
eu tô fazendo uma água saindo.
Então come. Não precisa comer o polvo, não, tá?
Tá bom. Boy, do really do want it. Tá muito. I don't like when people eat apples. I just don't want them to chopped up.
You don't want them to be chopped up, but they taste very good.
But I don't want to kill horses.
You don't eat horses. You only eat turkeys
Why?
and chicken and pigs and cows.
The pigs are nice. And chickens are nice and cows are nice.
So we shouldn't eat them, should we not?
No, please chopping them all up.
Farmers.
Why?
It's their job. That's how they make a living. That's how they make money.
But I don't like when farmers chop people up.
Don't chop people up.
I don't like when they chop apple people up.
Animals.
Apples are very nice.
So you're not going to eat animals anymore, are you?
Oi, vou falar. Esse estudar na cama, por favor. Oi, meu nome é Sundara, eu tenho 3 anos, moro no mato dentro, não como os bichinhos porque eu sou vegana desde que eu nasci, porque eu amo eles. Oi, meu nome é Sundara, eu tenho 5 anos, vou fazer 6. Eu nunca comi nenhum derivado animal, eu nunca vou comer. Matar os animais é uma coisa chata. Eles não querem nos maltratar. Tomar leite é do peito da vaca. A vaca, ela quer dar leite pro bezerro. Ela não quer ser tomada de leite. Toma leite de soja, toma outra coisa, mas leite da vaca não, pra mim não. Gente, não coma mais carne. Não tenham medo. É uma coisa legal, é mais legal do que comer carne.
So, Levi, how long have you been a vegan?
Birth?
Your entire life, huh?
Yeah.
And have you ever eaten cooked food?
No.
Never. You've been a raw vegan since birth.
Yeah.
How old are you?
9.
9 years old. Do you have any desire to eat like pizza or ice cream or anything? No? What do you think of that kind of food?
I don't think people should be eating that really.
Really?
It's not good for you.
Wow. Do you take any like supplements or anything? Do you take like a B12 or DHA? Do you know any of those things? Do you take any of them?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what taking? Okay.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Out of everyone who's sitting down right now, who's vegan?
I'm vegan. I'm raw vegan. Sort of.
Now, you have friends who eat like pizza and they eat cheese and meat and stuff, right?
Yeah, my friends that ain't me.
What do you understand that? Do you understand why they like that kind of food?
Yeah, because they were born that way. And they're addicted to it.
Good answer.
And then, I know some kids that don't want to eat meat, they have to because of their parents.
Right, they're forced to.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you want to say to the world about being vegan, what would it be?
It's healthy and it's ethical. And we never get sick.
Huh? Are you hanging out in the grass? Yeah? What's the grass feel like?
Okay, I'm Kai, this is Legolas, 100% raw vegan pregnancy and still 100% raw baby, no supplements, stronger than any baby I've seen, 5 months old.
Story about being young at heart. For most of us, reaching the age of 72 means taking it easy a little bit, time to relax, maybe a light workout here and there. That's not the way this 72-year-old California man lives. This guy is Jim Morris. He has been bodybuilding for close to half a decade, and he shows no signs of slowing down. Now, he was a former Mr. America. Get this, at the age of 72, he works out every single day for an hour, 6 days a week. And here's his diet: nuts, beans, fruits, and vegetables.
As people age, they try to find ways to preserve their appearance, and a Florida woman says she has found the fountain of youth.
News Channel 5's Tanya Rogers joins us now with this special report. Tanya?
Well, Jane, Hannah, and I have had several people ask me, how old is she? She is a grandmother, and she is eligible for a senior citizen discount. Her quest started because she wanted to feel healthy and have lots of energy, but she has reaped more benefits than she anticipated.
And here we have some ginger.
Annette Larkins shows off her garden in her Miami-Dade County backyard. It's full of fruits and vegetables. Every corner of her garden has something that is edible.
And I've been eating them, and they're so good.
She also collects rainwater to drink and water her plants. Annette says the food in her garden is her fountain of youth.
I'm very vibrant. I have lots of energy, as I told you before. I'm up at no later than 5:30 in the morning as a rule, and I'm ready to go.
Annette's husband owned a meat store in the 1960s. That's when she became a vegetarian. But as the years went by, she became a raw vegan. She does not eat any animal products. Her food is unprocessed and uncooked.
My diet consists of fruits, nuts, vegetables, and seeds. I do a lot of sprouting of seeds, and as you can see from my garden, of course, these are the raw foods that I eat.
Annette also juices fruits and veggies. You name it, she can juice it. Grapefruits, pineapples, even spinach. But not everyone in the Larkins family eats and drinks this way. Annette's husband of almost 54 years chose to continue to eat the way he did when they were first married.
I really wish I would have did what she's done.
Amos Larkin says people even wonder if Annette is his wife.
They'll ask me, what am I doing with their young girl? Or they'll say, you got your granddaughter with you, you know, and things like that, you know.
Amos takes prescription medicines daily for high blood pressure and diabetes. Annette says she doesn't even take an aspirin. So how old is this size 4 beauty? Annette just turned 70 years old.
This one lady who is my age, she said, you know, was telling her friend that I used to tell them about eating, and they wouldn't listen. And her reply was to that, or her response to that was, look at her now and look at us.
She's an amazing person, though. Oh, man. I mean, really. She do everything. I mean, build computers. Oh, she's make all her own clothes, grow her own food, speak 3 languages. You know, it's amazing.
Unbelievable. A Ramona woman is named the sexiest vegetarian, but she's over 50, and I still cannot get over the fact of how old you are, because you look absolutely incredible. Mimi Kirk joins us with secrets on how you can stay young. Bring the camera, it's high definition. You at home, okay, this is Mimi. Mimi, take a guess, 1 second at home. How old do you think Mimi is? Okay, Mimi, tell us how old you are.
I'll be 71 this month.
Whatever. Are you serious?
Right. And everyone always asks me if I've had plastic surgery or Botox. No, I still have all my laugh lines. I have nothing.
You look incredible.
Thank you.
I'm dying to know, how did you stay looking so young on the outside?
Well, I believe in animal protection, so I'm a vegetarian, actually a vegan. I don't eat any animal products. I don't like the inhumane treatment, and I think a lot of the food today is antibiotics and steroids, and I don't mind getting older. I just want to be healthy. I love to travel. I have a young boyfriend. I want to feel good. So I have a big green drink every morning. I think everybody should do that.
What's in it?
Well, I put vegetables in it. I put like celery and cucumber, which is good for your skin. I put lots of spinach in. And then I add fruit like apples or pineapple, anything you like that's live food.
I'm looking at you, like while you're talking, half focusing on what you're saying, half just looking at you. You don't look like any other 71-year-old. Can you stand up for a second?
Sure.
Can you stand up and just take a look? Okay, we're going to compare. I want to compare our arms too. We're having fun with this, okay? So like 30-year-old arms.
Arms and So that's pretty good.
You're going to be 71.
71.
71. Amazing. Yeah. Let's talk about your boyfriend.
Okay.
Are you a cougar?
Well, saber-tooth maybe, I don't know, but my boyfriend's 51, and we've been together 7 years, and we don't really feel any age difference. In fact, you know, when we go somewhere, I'm running around walking faster than him, so I don't feel my age. I feel like I'm 20. And I know it's diet. I think it's really important what you eat. I really do. I think that the food you put in has something to do with it. I credit it all to that because I don't really exercise a lot. So.
Oh, you don't?
No, not a lot. I have to do better at that. I'm on and off. I like to do some Qigong martial arts. I walk. But I'm not a real big exerciser, but I'm actually going to get into it this next month. I've decided to exercise a little more.
When did you start this diet? Was it something you did like in the teens or?
Well, I've probably been a vegetarian on and off for about 40 years. I believed in eating healthy food, but now basically the vegan lifestyle and the way I eat now is mostly live foods. And in the last year and a half since I've been doing that, I've noticed a tremendous difference. I actually feel like I've gotten younger since I've been doing that kind of eating. And people are always asking me about protein. Plenty of protein. I'm so alive. I wake up, no aches and pains like someone my age has in the morning in their joints. I have nothing. I feel really, really fantastic.
Hi, I'm Sunny Griffin, and I'm pretty proud to say I'm 70 years old. I'm really astounded in our civilization. 70 is everybody's definition of ancient, and I don't think it's ancient at all. I feel really, really fabulous. Weight has always been a huge problem for me because of the line of work I was in. Back in the early 60s, I was a model. I was a photographer's model in the 60s and 70s. What they refer to today as a supermodel. And you have to be thin. And so I have always been concerned with weight because I come from a family of obese people. When I started off modeling, I didn't have a lot of money. And, I had almost no money until I made it big. And I ate incredibly poorly. For a while, I was living on donuts that I could get in the New York City subway because I could eat for about 10 cents a day. This is in 62, 63. And I got sick. I had trench mouth. I had terrible things wrong with me. And I realized that, and then I got very busy very quickly in the business, and there's no time to eat. So I had to find a kind of food that I could carry with me in my model bag. And it turned out to be carrot sticks and celery sticks and sliced up apples and anything that was just fresh and raw I would carry around in my model bag. I could eat it in cabs between bookings during the day, and I felt great. I stayed thin, and I had a lot of nutrition. This was long before I had the faintest idea what raw food was about. I also had lots of nuts. I would always have bags of walnuts and almonds and things like that. Things that are portable. And as in later years, I've done a lot of traveling in the work that I've done. And I always have to take my food with me. And it's so easy that raw food is quite portable. If you have the slightest reputation of being sickly, you're not going to be booked again. I mean, think of the beautiful models that you know today. I mean, look at Gisele Bündchen. She's the highest paid model in the world today. And she's just the epitome of wonderful health. You see pictures of her, playing volleyball on the beach in Brazil, and Christy Brinkley. You think of the names of these girls that are Cheryl Tiegs, that are wonderfully healthy looking because they are healthy, because they eat really well. In fact, a supermodel named Carol Alt has written 2 books on raw foods. Carol really had health challenges and wasn't feeling well, and it was quite difficult for her, and she tells her story in her books about how she went 100% raw and is to this day.
At the Extreme Couture Gym, we found an extraordinary plant-based athlete, Ultimate Fighter champion Mac Danzig. In the mixed martial arts world, strength, toughness, and endurance are of paramount importance, and Mac has them all.
I had cut dairy out of my diet when I was about 18 years old because I had a ear, nose, and throat allergy to dairy, and I was getting a lot of ear infections and things like that. So when I cut that out, really the only thing that was separating me from having a vegan diet was chicken and fish. So I was just eating that for years, and I was eating it because I thought that I needed to, because everyone tells you, if you're an athlete, you need, at least chicken and fish in your diet for protein. Something that's just one of the myths that's been perpetuated for a while. All it took was me cutting the chicken and fish out, and I did it cold turkey. I think a lot of people, stereotypically speaking, think someone that's a vegan is like some skinny hippie type of person. And you know, I'm not necessarily trying to break the stereotype. I tried the diet for my own personal reasons, and it worked for me. I feel like I have more energy now that I don't eat the meat products, and I also feel like I recover better in between my workouts. I'm not trying to be part of some exclusive club or anything like that. I'm just doing my thing, and you know, don't plan on eating meat or dairy or anything like that for the rest of my life.
Actually, the most recent record I've set, world record, is the record for the heaviest weight ever carried by a human being. So it's called the yoke walk. It's a strongman event. And I have carried 555 kilos over a course of 10 meters. Yeah, and that's the most recent one.
That's amazing. Now, you're also known as the vegan badass.
I have done that because I'm quite compassionate with animals, and I found out in one day that it doesn't make any sense if you see a bird or an animal suffering right before you, that it hurts you and you want to help the animal, but then at the same time you go and have meat, which means that another animal has to be killed for that. So I thought, okay, it doesn't make any sense. Only in one case you don't see the suffering, so you're like, okay, this is meat, this is not an animal. And suddenly the piece of meat had a face for me, and I had to stop eating meat. So that is what led to the whole thing. Interesting about being vegan as a strength athlete is that most people would consider a strength athlete to be like eating tons of animal products, like milk, dairy products, and of course meat. And in most cases, that's also the case. Like most of strength athletes do that. And myself, being led to this lifestyle by ethical reasons, I was expecting a decrease in my performances, actually, and I was completely surprised by the fact that the exact opposite happened. My numbers went up, my recovery got better, and everything was perfect. So what I'm trying to do now is trying to get that information and my experiences to people, and just telling them, hey, it's only a myth. I know that mama has told you to have your dairy product, your milk and your meat, but that's only what mama told you. There's no scientific, and it's actually the case, there's no scientific paper or anything that says you need animal products to be strong or to be a well performer at sports.
I want to ask you to use some empathy right now. And when I say empathy, what I'm saying is place yourself in the position of the animals and start to view this issue from the animal's point of view, from the victim's point of view. When you examine any form of injustice, whether humans are victims or animals are victims, please remember the victim's point of view. If you are not the victim, don't examine it entirely from your point of view, because when you're not the victim, it becomes pretty easy to rationalize and excuse cruelty, injustice, inequality, slavery, and even murder. But when you're the victim, things look a lot differently from that angle. Now I want to show a graphic 4-minute video right now about what goes on inside of a slaughterhouse. I want to ask you not to turn away, not to close your eyes during this video. It's because if you choose to eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, I think at the very least you are obligated to see the pain and suffering you are causing. But if you do feel the need to turn away or close your eyes during this video, you might want to ask yourself a question. If it's not good enough for my eyes, then why is it good enough for my stomach?
What you are about to see is beyond your worst nightmares. But for animals raised on modern intensive production farms and killed in slaughterhouses, it is cold, inescapable reality. Once you see for yourself the routine cruelty involved in raising animals for food, you'll understand why millions of compassionate people have decided to leave meat off their plates for good. Chickens are probably the most abused animals on the face of the planet. They are crammed into filthy sheds by the tens of thousands, immersed in their own excrement among the corpses of other birds who died of heart attacks or stress. Some even die of starvation brought on by becoming crippled from growing so large, so fast that their legs can't withstand the weight, which makes them unable to reach food. After being genetically manipulated and fed antibiotics to promote unnaturally rapid growth, their hearts, lungs, and legs often break down under the added weight. Heart attacks and crippling leg deformities are far too common. A PETA investigation found this farmer killing sick and injured turkeys by beating them with a metal rod and then tossing them aside, leaving them still conscious and suffering. This was deemed legal and standard by the industry. This undercover video shows the standard method of gathering chickens for slaughter. After enduring weeks in filthy, crowded conditions, the animals are loaded onto trucks and taken through extreme weather conditions without food or water to slaughterhouses. Where they are snapped into shackles by their fragile legs and have their throats slit, often while still conscious. Many are scalded alive in the feather removal tanks. If you thought it couldn't be any worse, think again. Between 5 and 11 hens are crammed into tiny wire cages during egg production. The animals might go insane from the oppressive conditions and attack one another, so their beaks, which are filled with nerve endings, are painfully seared off with a hot blade. These hens are so crowded that they are unable to spread even one wing during their entire miserable lives. They are unable to do anything natural, such as dust bathing or foraging through the grass. It takes an average of 34 hours in these conditions to produce just one egg. When egg production drops, producers often shock the bodies of the worn-out birds into another laying cycle by withholding food for up to 14 days. Many die of starvation. Because their bones are so weak and their bodies so worn down, up to 90% of hens have broken bones or are hemorrhaging by the time they make it to slaughter. Cattle are castrated, have their horns chopped off, and are repeatedly branded, all without painkillers. At auctions, electric prods are used to torment the frightened animals into going where the workers want them to go. The USDA allows meat from animals with cancerous lesions and pus-filled wounds to be certified as USDA pure, so injuries and illnesses often go untreated. After enduring close to a year crammed into feedlots, cattle are loaded onto transport trucks and shipped through all weather extremes. At slaughter, their throats are slit open, and many are skinned and dismembered while still fully conscious. Dairy cows have it even worse. Even though they give milk for the same reason that humans do, for their babies, on today's dairy farms, mother cows are treated as nothing more than milk machines. 40% of dairy cows are lame by the time they reach the slaughterhouse. They are hooked up to machines a few times per day, machines that often injure them. At the end of their lives, they are either sent straight to slaughter or are sold for slaughter at cattle auctions. More than 100,000 cows are unable to walk off the transport trucks every year, yet they are slaughtered for human food anyway. At a fraction of their natural lifespan, they're shipped to slaughter. Most hamburger in this country comes from spent dairy cows. Cows give milk for their offspring, not for human beings. These mother cows are impregnated annually to keep the milk flowing, and their babies are torn from them shortly after birth, which causes both of them profound distress. Many of the males are sold to veal farmers, who cram them into tiny crates where they cannot turn around or even comfortably lie down. If you're consuming milk, you're supporting the veal industry. Veal calves, who can barely walk because their muscles have atrophied from a lack of use and an anemia-inducing diet, are also often sold at auctions. Confined to tiny stalls that don't even allow mother pigs to turn around for most of their pregnancy, the first time that these animals will breathe fresh air is when they are on the back of a truck headed for the slaughterhouse. Many will go insane from the complete lack of stimulation. Shortly after birth, baby pigs have their ears mutilated, the ends of their teeth chopped off, their tails cut off, and they are also castrated, all without any painkillers. Pigs who aren't growing quickly enough, called fall-behinds, are killed by being slammed headfirst against the concrete floor, as you see here. Like chickens, pigs grow so quickly that they can't walk normally. Their limbs simply can't sustain their drug-induced bulk. Many pigs become ill or injured, but are not put out of their misery because as long as they're still alive, they have a chance of generating profits for the company if they can make it to slaughter. Those who obviously can't make it to the slaughterhouse are shot with a captive bolt gun so that they don't waste the company's money by eating feed. Moving pigs by beating them with gate rods is one of the more common forms of abuse. Pigs are often packed so tightly together on unventilated trucks that their limbs snap under the weight of other terrified animals, and they sometimes freeze to the sides of the truck or die of dehydration. In fact, 400,000 pigs who are unable to walk off the truck arrive at the slaughterhouses each year. 100,000 arrive dead. These are industry figures. Some speculate that the real numbers are much higher. After being electrically prodded and forced onto the killing floor, improper stunning causes pigs to endure having their throats slit while they are still awake. Some are burned alive in the scalding tank that is used for hair removal. please think about what you've seen. Every time we sit down to eat, we make a choice. Please choose vegetarianism. Do it for the animals, do it for the environment, and do it for your health.
Do you ever wonder why McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's never show you those images in their TV ads? Instead, they show you smiling cartoon caricatures of animals singing and dancing and playing, lying to you, brainwashing you, programming you not to care about things you would normally care about, things that you used to care about. Right now, at this very moment, on American highways, there are no less than 5,000 concentration camp trucks. Trucks that we've constructed. Inside these trucks, there are living, terrified, innocent beings. Cows and pigs and chickens. These trucks are being driven to concentration camp slaughterhouses that we've carefully constructed all across America. When the trucks arrive, the animals are so frightened, they won't even get off the truck. They're not stupid. They know what's next. So people go on the trucks with electric prods and force them to walk down the chutes to their own death. Or if the animals are small enough to manhandle like chickens, we'll just grab them off the trucks and toss them inside. Inside, these innocent living beings are hanged upside down, fully conscious. In other words, they go in alive against their will and come out chopped up into hundreds of pieces. But you know what's more insane than that? Meat eaters. Walking around like their lifestyle isn't causing any harm. Like it's normal and natural to be consuming violence and death. How would you feel if the day that you were born, somebody else had already planned the day of your execution? That's what it's like to be a cow, a pig, a chicken, or a turkey on this planet. I think this type of behavior is inexcusable and unbecoming of a species that claims to understand right from wrong. The animals have not done one single thing to us to deserve the wrath and the cruelty that we hurl on them.
You know what makes me want to rant? It's those people who say, I love animals, but I murder and eat them too. Psycho. Thumbs up who's tired of this bullshit. Because I am. So as you know, I get plenty of YouTube comments, and I had one the other day. It went like this: I love animals, but I eat meat too. Because I love it. Plain and simple. Same reason I eat salad. I like it. I'm not one of those people who overthinks it. Animals are bred and killed to be human food. Just because I eat them doesn't mean I don't love them. It's a circle of life. Oh, what an ignorant prick. I love animals.
But I like to kill them too.
Psycho. But I hear you saying, I do love animals. I really, really do, Freely. Well, okay, that's great. What did you have for lunch? Oh, you had chicken wings. You do know that chicken wing was attached to an animal. You know you can't actually eat an animal and love it at the same time. You don't actually love the animal, you love eating the animal. You say you love animals and then you go and eat them 5 times a day. Who fucking eats their friends? Yeah, I really love kids too. And that's why I abuse them.
Connect the dots.
A guy I know that often goes out fishing all day was telling me the other week about his pet fish. His pet exotic fish died at home. And I'm like, and he was really sad. And I'm like, why don't you just eat it? And he's like, it was my pet.
Connect the dots.
My mum's friend is the biggest bird watcher in the world. He absolutely loves birds. And you know what his favourite food is? KFC cruelty crispy chicken wings. You know you can't actually eat an animal and love it at the same time. You know, the other day I was watching these fat corpse crunching elk hunters help an elk out of a hole. It had actually fallen into the hole. They were helping it out, and they set it free. And I'm like, why don't you guys just shoot it? You know, shoot it, slit its throat, take it home. And the head hunter says, we don't like to see the animal suffer. We're human. It's like, firstly, thank you for helping the elk. Yes, you did something right for once. Why don't you just go and shoot it? You're going to go and shoot its brother in a second anyway. Don't try and pretend that you care. You kill elks for a living.
So someone on Facebook the other day was going, you vegans are preachy and I don't like it. You're always telling people what to do. And I'm like, hang on. Aren't you telling me what to do just by saying that? You know, people go, oh, you're judgmental now. Aren't you judging me by saying that? I tell people, give advice and be judgmental, because without judgment, we don't have no change in society. For evil to flourish, good people must not judge. For evil to flourish, good people must stay silent. You know what I mean? If you want to change the status quo, you got to judge, you got to tell people what to do, you got to be a leader, you got to stand up and say, no, this is wrong, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to do this instead. I don't give a fuck what the status quo says. This is what my heart says. I'm going to do what my heart says regardless of what anyone else says. And if you're vegan, you're a judgmental asshole prick who doesn't care about the humans or the animals. You don't care about the planet, you just want to have everyone healthy and fit and lean and strong and off drugs and no coronary bypass surgeries anymore, and you want to try and eradicate cancer through diet and lifestyle. And that's not right, Harley. That's not fair. You can't do that. You know, we've got the pharmaceutical industry making trillions of dollars on sick people from eating animal products and high cholesterol and high blood pressure and impotence and selling Viagra. You can't come in here and promote your little veganisms and try and save the planet. How dare you? You make us look like fools. You make us look like the complacent, fat, dumb idiots that the weight loss industry says we are. How dare you, Harley? How dare you vegans? I can't be a vegan because I never do anything in life. I'm a flake. I've been a flake for the last 20, 30, 60, 70, 80 years. I'm going to be a flake the rest of my life. So please, don't wake me up. I want to go back to sleep. Thank you very much. So is that what you're going to be? You're going to be a flake the rest of your life, or you're going to stand up? You're going to follow your heart? You're going to actually say no to numbing and yes to feeling? You're going to turn your heart back on and go, hang on, my heart says I don't want to kill freaking fluffy animals. I don't want to pay other people to do it. I don't want to justify it because everyone else does it. My family does it. My colleagues do it. I've always done it, so I'll keep doing it. So I'll tell you right now, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting.
An average of 25,000 animals throughout an average meat eater's lifetime. They kill about 25,000 animals when they could kill 0. Can you imagine having 25,000 beautiful animals, cows, pigs, chickens, different birds, deer, moose, bear, all the things that people eat? Imagine having 25,000 of them around you, and you get a knife and a fork and a machine gun, and it's your choice whether you want to eat all of these, machine gun these animals down and consume their flesh for the rest of your life, or you can take a few steps over to the next yard where you'll find lush gardens of fruits and vegetables, which are much healthier for you, and you don't have to, cause the death of any living being. And don't tell me that plants are alive too. Yet another lame argument that people come up with.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Well,
people...
you vegetarians, you eat the fruits and the vegetables. They're conscious too.
But they don't run away from me when I try to go pick them off the tree. They don't start crying and bleed everywhere when I eat the apple. Right. And it tastes really good. I'm not gonna go walk up and find a dead animal and say, "Ooh, that looks good. I'm gonna start eating it right now." I don't even need a fork because I'm a carnivore. I don't need a knife. I'm just gonna dig in my sharp teeth and just start tearing that skin apart. No one does that because that's not an instinct for us. We see a nice juicy mango or some grapes and I start salivating because I think, oh, that's so good. I want to eat that fruit. But I'm not going to stumble upon a dead squirrel and think, oh yeah, I think I'll eat that.
There are other cultures. Again, the cultural story for us is this is your pet. In another culture, certain parts of the world, they eat cats and dogs. That's their culture. That's their story they've been told. And how do we feel about that? A lot of people think it's disgusting, right? I imagine every one of you probably thinks it's disgusting to eat a dog. Why would it be disgusting to eat this animal and not disgusting to eat this animal? Why would it be wrong to eat this animal and right to eat this animal? And most importantly, why would it be wrong to kill this animal and right to kill this animal?
Culture.
It's culture. It's the story. It's the matrix that we've been told. One culture sees this as a pet, this is a food. Another culture might see this as a pet and this as a food. Another culture might see them both as food. Certain parts of India, the cow is sacred. They would never think about eating a cow in certain parts of India. Is that wrong? Is that unnatural? That's just the story they've been told. But culture is just a story. That's all it is. It's just make-believe. What I'm concerned with is what is natural to the human species. Because every culture has a different story. But you take somebody from Asia, Africa, South America, North America, Europe, and we're all the same species. We're all human beings. So let's take a 3-year-old from any country in the world, and you put that 3-year-old in a room, and you line up 5 animals in front of that 3-year-old. A pig, a dog, a cow, a cat, and a chicken. Do you think the 3-year-old is going to know which one to eat and which one to pet? What's the 3-year-old most likely going to do, or try to do? Play with them all. He's going to try to play with them all. The 3-year-old has to be taught, no, 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 no. Don't play with him. Eat him. Play with him, pet him. That's what we were taught. We didn't choose our diet. Our diet is a learned behavior. We were raised to perceive this animal as your pet and this animal as your food. But that's not the natural perception. The natural perception is that they're all of our companions. So our parents chose our diet based upon the cultural story. And if you have children, you base their diet on the cultural story being told, which is the same story. Now, let me give you another example. If you take a baby and you put a baby in a crib and you put on the right side a baby chick and on the left side an apple, which one do you think the baby's going to try to play with and which one do you think the baby's going to try to eat?
I'd like you to imagine that you're a guest at a dinner party and the host is famous for her homemade pasta and meatballs. And she serves you a dish that looks like this. And imagine that this dish will not affect your arteries in any way. It's actually not bad for you. Just imagine. Just imagine whether you would find this dish delicious or disgusting. Now, for those of you who would find this delicious, even if you don't eat this way anymore, you might still like the flavor of these foods. For those of you who would find this delicious, imagine that you find it so delicious that you ask the host for her recipe. And flattered, she replies, well, the secret is in the meat. You need to start out with 3 pounds of extra lean golden retriever. How many of you would find this delicious? There's always one. All right. Don't be shy. Would you pick out the golden retriever balls and just eat I know I made that doubly gross. Pick out the golden retriever meat and just eat the pasta and sauce around it? So take a moment to reflect on your thoughts and feelings. And chances are what you thought of just moments ago as food, you now think of as a dead animal. And what you just felt was delicious, you now feel is disgusting. Chances are your experience of the meat dramatically changed, even though nothing about the meat itself actually changed. So what is it then that changed? Right. What changed is your perception of the meat. Now, our perception is the lens that we look at the world through. And when it comes to eating animals, our perception is shaped largely, if not entirely, by our culture. In fact, in meat-eating cultures around the world, people tend to have a tiny handful of animals that they have learned to classify as edible. All the rest, we learn to classify as inedible and therefore disgusting. And so even though the type of species consumed changes from culture to culture, members of all cultures tend to find their own choices to be rational and the choices of other cultures to be disgusting and often even offensive. So what's striking is not the presence of disgust. Disgust is the norm. It's the rule rather than the exception. What's striking is the absence of disgust. Why are we not disgusted by the 5, 6, 7, maybe if you're an adventurous eater, species we've been taught to think of as edible? And perhaps more importantly, why don't we ever ask why?
Do you really think there's such a thing as humane slaughter? Exactly what is your definition of humane? Besides psychological and physical abuse, torture, dismemberment, and murder, what else do you think happens to animals inside of a slaughterhouse? You think they get belly rubs and tushy slaps? And if you think there's such a thing as humane slaughter, I'm curious, do you also think there's such a thing as humane rape? Humane child molestation? Humane slavery? How about a humane Holocaust? In fact, what is your definition of a Holocaust? Is it a massacre of human beings or a massacre of innocent beings? I thought it was innocent, which brings us to the biggest Holocaust massacre of all. Every year in America, without mercy, we murder 10 billion land animals and 18 billion marine animals. Not for health, survival, sustenance, or self-defense. People eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs for 4 reasons: habit, tradition, convenience, taste.
And over the course of so many years and so many meals, I never thought about how strange it was that I could be petting my dog with one hand while I ate a pork chop with the other. A pork chop that had once been an animal who was at least as intelligent and sensitive and conscious as my dog. I never thought about the inconsistencies in my attitudes and behaviors toward these animals because, frankly, when I was eating the pork chop, I didn't actually think I was eating an animal. I mean, sure, I knew that whenever I ate meat, someone had to die for my plate. You know, but on another level, I just didn't connect the dots. I just had that knowing without knowing. I had a gap in my consciousness. And so because this gap in our consciousness blocks our awareness of the reality of our meat, it also blocks our authentic thoughts and feelings about our meat. Remember when I told you were eating a golden retriever, chances are you couldn't help but think of the living animal and feel disgusted. And yet, when you believed you were eating the flesh of a cow, chances are you had no thought of the living animal and you felt no disgust. So when we're not aware of the reality of our meat or of our authentic thoughts and feelings about the meat, then we are also not aware that we have a choice, that we are making a choice every time we eat meat. And so this gap in our consciousness robs us of our ability to make our choices freely, because without awareness, there is no free choice. For much of my life, I never questioned my choice to eat pigs and chickens and fish and cows because I never even thought I had a choice. No one had ever asked me if I wanted to eat animals, how I felt about eating animals, if I believed in eating animals. No one had ever encouraged me to reflect upon this daily practice that had such profound ethical dimensions and personal implications. Eating animals was just a given. It was just the way things are.
I understand that we're all on a journey in life. We all have different likes and dislikes, different nationalities and religions too. But there's one thing that we need to have in common with each other, and that's peace. Genuine compassion and genuine peace for our planetary companions. Contrary to political and religious dogma, animals do not belong to us. They are not commodities. They're not property, and they're not inanimate, stupid objects who can't think and feel. Those lies are thick. The propaganda from the animal abusers is enormous. I mean, when was the last time you turned on TV and saw a commercial for shiitake mushrooms? People singing and dancing down the streets, having a good time, eating mushrooms. How about alfalfa sprouts? Quinoa. It's a seed. Radishes. Raspberries. Tofu. You don't see that stuff advertised on TV. What do you see instead? Have some more meat. Have some more cheese. Have some more cheese on your meat. Meat, cheese, double cheese, extra cheese. And how about a little more cheese with your meat? Have some more cow's milk. Have some more eggs. And then what do you see interspersed between those advertisements? Not feeling so well? Need to see a cancer specialist? How about a heart doctor? Need some Lipitor, Zocor, Crestor, Plavix? Need some diet pills? How about some energy drinks? Some Kaopectate, Tums, Pepto-Bismol. You've been duped. They're killing you, they're killing the animals, and they're killing this planet. And those blinders are on nice and tight.
If I said to you right now, this is the happiest moment in my life, would you believe me? Hopefully not, no offense. So, how are you going to tell if somebody's happy? They're smiling, they're laughing. I could take somebody in this room who doesn't speak your language, but you can tell how they're feeling by their expressions, the sounds. It doesn't have to do with a language, though. What about other animals? Well, they wag their tail, they bark, they jump up and down, they play with each other, they lick. So all these are signs of how they feel. What about pain, though? If I said to you right now, my right hand is killing me, would you believe me? I haven't given you any signs. It might, though. It might be killing me. There's only one person in this room who knows if it's actually killing me. That's me, of course. If let's say I was to trip over my feet here, though, and nail my head against the side of this table, start bleeding profusely out of my head, and I'm screaming on the ground, would you believe I'm in pain? Of course, I'm showing the signs. Here's a test. You take your hand, you put it over a flame, what happens? Burns, right? What's your reaction? Pull back and scream. You take a dog's paw, put it over a flame. What's his reaction? Same thing. Pull back and scream. You take a pig's leg, put it over a flame. Same reaction. You take a dog, a pig, a cow, a chicken, a goat, a duck, a horse, a rat, a mouse, any animal that's living, put a body part of the flame, they all have the same reaction. You take a fish out of water, and what's their reaction? Start flopping around. Why? They can't breathe. You want to know what it feels like to be a fish out of water? Have your loved one put your head underwater and not let go. And it really wouldn't be your loved one, though, if they're doing that. That's what it feels like. Of course fish have feelings. They're not vegetables. If you take a vegetable, you take a plant, you take a strawberry, and you put it over a flame, and what happens? It melts. It doesn't have feet to run away. It doesn't have a mouth to scream, a nose to smell, eyes to see, ears to hear, a heart to beat, and a mind to think. And a lot of kids will like to give this one. Before you say, well, plants have feelings, they don't have a nervous system. They don't have a nervous system. Without a nervous system, they can't feel pain and happiness the way that animals and humans can.
When I stopped eating animals, I made the connection. I had a shift of consciousness, a paradigm shift. In other words, I didn't see different things. I saw the same things differently. Remember how different your meat looked to you when I told you you were eating a golden retriever? That's how all meat suddenly looked to me. It's just interesting how the gaps in our consciousness only become visible when they start to disappear. And as the gap in my consciousness closed, my mind opened. I wanted to learn the truth about animal agriculture. It was a truth that had been right in front of me, all around me, but that I had been unable or unwilling to see. And I needed to understand how, when it came to eating animals, rational, caring people, just like myself, could, in the words of psychiatrist and social activist Robert J. Lifton, just stop thinking. So I spent about 20 years looking for answers, including about a decade of research that culminated in my doctoral dissertation on the psychology of eating meat. And what I found was to dramatically change the way that I and others working in psychology and social justice thought about the issue of eating animals. So what I found is that there's an invisible belief system that conditions us to eat certain animals. And this is the belief system I came to call carnism. It's the opposite of veganism. Now, carnism is a special kind of belief system or ideology. It's a dominant ideology. It's invisible, entrenched. It shapes norms, beliefs, behaviors, etc. And it's also a violent ideology. Meat cannot be procured without killing. And dominant violent ideologies, such as carnism, need to use a set of social and psychological defense mechanisms to enable humane people to participate in inhumane practices without fully realizing what they're doing. In other words, carnism teaches us how not to feel. Now, the primary defense of carnism is denial. If we deny there's a problem in the first place, then we don't have to do anything about it. Denial is expressed through invisibility. One way carnism remains invisible is by remaining unnamed. If we don't name it, we can't think about it. We can't talk about it or challenge it or question it. The invisibility of carnism is why eating animals appears to be a given rather than a choice. And carnism also keeps its victims out of sight and therefore conveniently out of public consciousness. And as social critic author and ecofeminist Carol J. Adams tells us, if the problem is invisible, then there will be ethical invisibility.
What's an egg? A lot of people think it's a baby chick. It's not a baby chick. A lot of people think it's a fetus. It's not a fetus. It's not an embryo, which is good. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to eat a fetus or an embryo in the first place. So what is it? Well, it's an unfertilized egg. That doesn't sound that bad at all. All right. Well, once a month, every woman in this room, or maybe not every woman in this room, sheds, or at some point, sheds an unfertilized egg. What is that called?
Period.
Congratulations. You're eating a hen period. It's the menstruation cycle discharge of a hen. Now, I'm not going to eat a woman's period, just like, why should I have a hen period? There's no need to eat any period from any living being. It's disgusting, and, you know, we should call it what it is. I mean, if we were just, you know, when we were young, when we were kids, and, you know, our parents said, hey, you want some scrambled hen periods for breakfast? I'll pass. You know? It's like honey. What is honey? Yeah, it's vomit. It's regurgitated throw up. They throw up for their own cells. They take the nectar, they digest it, and they throw up. And it's for their own cells. They're not producing it for us. We call it honey because who in their right mind would want to buy a product called bee vomit? I mean, you know, you put vomit next to any product in the supermarket, and I guarantee it's not going to sell. Doesn't take a business expert to realize that. All right. What about milk? Well, even your happy cows in California are hooked up to machines. This is the way it is. All right. Now, when does a cow start producing milk? During pregnancy. She starts lactating during pregnancy, right? That's funny. I mean, I've been to a lot of schools, and I'll get even high school teachers who will say, I didn't know that. I just thought there was this magical cow that just produced milk. It's like, okay. All mammals produce milk when they're pregnant. And how does she become pregnant? Well, you know, we like to think they get to have sex, right? At the very least, they get the pleasure of sex. But there's no sex on the farm. The farmer's not going to wait for a cow and a bull to get it on. He's not going to set the mood, light some candles, put on Barry White. It's a business. He's running a business, you know? And the business is not in the welfare of the animal. It's in producing a profit. So how do you get a cow pregnant without a bull? Artificially inseminate them. If you were to artificially inseminate a woman without her consent, what would that be called? Rape. I am not saying a woman is a cow, but I am saying rape is rape. I mean, just look up the definition of rape. Exerting your power over another sexually. So what's your definition of another? Does that only apply to women? How about men? How about other beings? Well, now she's pregnant. She gives birth. What happens to her baby? All male calves born in the dairy industry, like if you were here in the beginning, the Saving Billy, all male calves born in the dairy industry are immediately taken away from their mother, chained by the neck to a crate, deprived of their mother's milk, fed an inefficient diet so that their body become anemic, so lack of iron. They will never be able to turn around, will never see the light of day. Every glass of milk supports this industry. And some people say, well, veal is the cruelest industry, or foie gras, where they shove a pipe down a duck's throat. I mean, cruelest industry. How do you put pain in some kind of like, okay, well, it's pretty bad right here, but it's not so bad here. Pain is pain. Suffering is suffering. Don't categorize it. This is all suffering for these animals. Where do all these animals get their milk from? And when do they stop consuming milk? We're the only species on this planet to take the milk from another animal, and we're the only species on this planet to continue drinking milk after infancy. And if you really don't think it's that weird, because people say, well, you don't eat cheese. Cheese is just spoiled milk. You don't eat cheese. You don't drink cow's milk. That's extreme. That's crazy. Is it really that extreme to not take the milk from another animal? I mean, and if you don't think it's that extreme, if I brought a pregnant woman into the room right now, how many of you would want to drink her milk? You're not a baby. It is extreme. Now, if cow's milk is meant for a calf, if cow's milk is biologically meant for a calf, why would it be necessary for humans to drink? It's not. Cow's milk is no more necessary than drinking dog milk, chimp milk, pig milk, or elephant milk. The only milk you need was from your mother when you were a baby. You're not a baby anymore. You're not a cow. You're not a calf.
Whenever people witness the truth about animal agriculture like this, they always ask me, Melanie, how is this legal? And I always reply that not only is it legal, there is an entire industrial complex built around this kind of violence and slaughter. Animal agribusiness in the United States is a $125 billion industry. Another set of invisible victims are the meat packers and slaughterhouse workers. many of whom are non-English speaking immigrants, documented and undocumented, who can't advocate for their rights and who have to work in a death-saturated, highly dangerous environment, and not surprisingly, have high rates of post-traumatic stress and addictions. Now, I'm going to share with you just 3 titles of OSHA accident reports to give you a sense of what these people have to contend with. And this is out of 35 or so I had to choose from. Can you all see in the back, or do you need me to read this out? In the back, can you read it? Okay. Employee hospitalized for neck laceration from flying blade. Employee's eye injured when struck by hanging hook. Employee decapitated by chain of hide puller machine. In fact, in 2005, for the first time ever, Human Rights Watch issued a report criticizing a single U.S. industry, the meat industry, for working conditions so appalling they violate basic human rights. And our environment is an invisible victim of carnism. According to a recent UN report, animal agriculture is one of the most significant contributors to the most serious environmental problems facing the world today. And of course, we are the invisible victims of carnism. We pay for our carnism with our health. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which used to be the ADA, not a progressive organization when it comes to food, issued a statement saying that vegan diets are not only nutritionally adequate, but they can provide health benefits in the treatment and prevention of disease. We also pay for our carnism with our taxes. Billions of dollars a year in meat subsidies, subsidies that have been criticized across the political spectrum as one of the most egregious corporate welfare programs in the history of the country. And we pay for our carnism with our hearts and with our minds. Because to eat the body of another sentient being, we have to block our awareness and shut down our empathy. And empathy and awareness are integral to our sense of self. We pay for our carnism with the gap in our consciousness.
This is the foundation. This is where all of it starts. The fruits and vegetables. Keto, healthy diet, variety of foods, a variety of colors. You get everything from this, right? And then you build your walls with the legumes, the beans, and you got the whole grains, the wheat, the pasta, the spaghetti, the rice, the breads, and on top, your roof. You got your nuts and seeds. You can get everything from this, everything. All your vitamins, A, B, C, vitamin D from the sun. You get all your calcium, all your iron, your omega-3, all your protein, the amino acids. Everything from this, everything. Now, I know I'm a skinny white dude with glasses telling you to get enough protein, but these guys aren't skinny. Only one of them's white. So, as you can see, these guys, their diet consists of no meat, no dairy, no eggs, no fish. So the word of the day is vegan. And a vegan is somebody who chooses not to eat any meat, dairy, eggs, or fish. And again, how is this extreme? How is it extreme not to be drinking the milk of any other species? How is it extreme not to be eating hen periods? How is it extreme to not be participating in a system that unnecessarily kills animals? A lot of kids say, man, even after all this, they're still like, what do I eat as a vegan? Now, all these products are vegan. There's no meat, no dairy, no eggs, but this is all crap. This is unhealthy. This is the junk food vegan. And you know, kids get all excited. All right, I'm going vegan. I eat just nothing but... It's like, God only knows what they're telling the parents. You know, if your diet consists of nothing but Oreos, Skittles, Airheads, Fritos, Sour Patch Kids, and Big League Chew, you're gonna die. This is unhealthy. I don't know if kids hear that, but you know, all right, I'm gonna live. On a healthier note, you know, you have your scrambled eggs, I have my scrambled tofu. Pancakes, you don't have to use cow milk, use soy milk, oat milk, rice milk, almond milk, coconut milk, hemp milk, fruits and vegetables. Spaghetti, pasta, refried beans. You even have vegan sour cream, guacamole, comes from the avocado. Soy cheese, rice cheese. They even have this magical cheese I'll get to in a sec. Veggie burger, veggie dog. Cupcakes, they have egg replacers. I think I'm going to have them up here. So you can replace the eggs with bananas, applesauce even. You can use soy milk, oat milk, more flour, water. Coconut milk ice cream, one of the best ice creams in the world.
But here's the coolest thing about being vegan in this day and age. It's never been easier. You can have the same smell, taste, and texture of meat, cheese, and milk without it. Nobody has to suffer and die for your dinner anymore, including you. They make all the products you like to eat in a vegan version. They make it from soy and wheat and rice and hemp. I want to show you some of the products that are out there, and I'm not receiving compensation from these companies. These are my selections of best tasting mock meat. I'm going to put them up on the screen so we can all see it clearly. You guys like bacon? Light Life, Smart Bacon. Bacon made from soy. This company, Light Life, also makes smoky tempeh bacon. Now, tempeh is a fermented version of soy, so it tastes a little different than the other stuff, but keep in mind, I would not recommend products to you if they didn't taste fantastic. I am trying to win you over, so you go veg. I'm not showing you every product we have. Some of our products suck. I'm showing you the best of the best. And when I say some of our products suck, don't act like there aren't shitty Chinese restaurants, nasty pizza places, and disgusting hamburger joints, okay? It works both ways. If it's made great, no matter what it is, it tastes great. If not, it's going to stink. Light Life also has soy chicken strips and steak strips as well. They also have a full line of deli meats. Turkey, bologna, and ham. You cannot tell the difference by sight, taste, or texture. A small company called Melissa's has chorizo, vegan chorizo. Energy bars, like Cliff Bars, Luna Bars. And a new bar just came out called Pro Bar. Might not have seen that one yet. They're all vegan. And many other companies have a vegan energy bar as well. Now remember, when you go veg, you don't give up anything. You got the vegan version of stuff, or eat things that are truly natural, like fruits and vegetables, or beans and lentils. You like turkey? We got you covered. My favorite product, Tofurkey. Tofu turkey, stuffing on the inside. Looks, smells, and tastes like turkey. Got to slice it with a knife. But guess what? No turkey had to suffer and die for this. Tofurkey also has Tofurkey slices. 6 different flavors of Tofurkey slices. Tofurkey also has tempeh strips. Remember I talked about the fake and bacon with Light Life tempeh? So they have some tempeh products too. Tofurkey also has Italian sausage, beer brats, and there seems to be an addiction in our society for beef jerky. I don't know what the hell is going on with everybody's taste buds. Everybody's lost their minds, but we got you covered. Tofurkey jerky. Anything you're looking for, we've got that stuff veganized. And many other companies have a vegan jerky as well. The absolute best company on the market right now is It's All Good Gardein Protein. That is 1 of their chicken dishes. That is 2 of their chicken dishes. 3 chicken dishes. They have more chicken dishes. They have steak dishes. And they just came out a few months ago with buffalo wings as well. Trader Joe's, that grocery chain, they want to compete now in the soy meat industry. They made their own brand of soy chicken and soy steak strips. There's a company called Vegetarian Plus, and they have vegan citrus spare ribs. And Garden Burger has had riblets, mock ribs, for over 10 years. I can't tell you how many of my meat-eating friends and family members I flat out fooled with this stuff. And this company also has shrimp, kung pao chicken, orange chicken, and tuna rolls as well. Now I mentioned wheat meat earlier. I don't think people really understand what it is. There's actually a name for it. It's called seitan. Not Satan, seitan. I want to give this stuff a try too. And they now have flavored seitan on the market too by Upton's, ground beef style, chorizo style. They also have an Italian sausage flavor as well. Some other favorite companies. Nate's Meatless Meatballs. Now I know you guys have seen veggie burgers before, probably Boca. But if you don't like Boca, good news, there's Amy's, Morningstar Farms, Dr. Prager's, Sunshine Burgers, and Garden Burger, all the different taste and texture. If you're looking for no soy, different kind of mock meat in your diet, new company called Bahama Rice Burgers, burgers from rice. They also have sausage and meatballs made out of rice as well. Another company with a no soy, different kind of mock meat taste. A small company from Cincinnati called 5 Star Foodies has artichoke burgers. My new favorite veggie burger by far, burgers from artichokes. They also have a harvest roast. It says vegetarian, but it is vegan. It's a fake turkey with fake skin around it too. Now Amy's is on the market. I know you've seen her stuff. She's got a ton of stuff, but keep in mind most of her stuff is only vegetarian. Still has eggs and cheese and other animal byproducts in there, but one of her vegan stuff, tofu scramblers, a fake egg, a Hot Pocket that actually tastes good and it's good for you too. Amy's also has rice macaroni with diet cheese, a brand new vegan cheese on the market, diet cheese, which you can find in Whole Foods right now. It comes in 2 different flavors. A lot of people are going crazy for the diet cheese. I still like Follow Your Heart. which has 4 different flavors of vegan cheese, comes in a big block and it melts. Now sometimes you got to be creative with this stuff. Light Life also has vegan pepperoni, which is ready to eat directly out of the bag. If you get some of this vegan pepperoni, buy yourself a Tofutti pan pizza with Tofutti soy cheese on it. Tofutti also has cream cheese, sour cream, and ice cream as well. Before it goes in the oven or after it comes out of the oven, slap some pepperoni on there, you got yourself a pizza. Remember, there's soy milk and rice milk, almond milk, hemp milk, coconut milk, oat milk, hazelnut milk, 7 vegan milks on the market. There's soy ice cream, rice ice cream, almond ice cream, and coconut milk ice cream and ice cream bars by So Delicious. And let me just say this, you have never in your life had ice cream till you've had the coconut milk ice cream by So Delicious.
You know, looking back on my own resistance to witnessing the truth about eating animals, I could see how the myths had a tremendous influence on me, as they do on all of us. I couldn't close that gap in my consciousness until I was ready to make the behavioral change that would inevitably follow. And I couldn't make that change until I felt safe enough to do so. I had a lot of fears and concerns. Would I get sick? Would I go broke buying expensive vegetarian foods? Would I have to subsist on a diet of tofu and cardboard? And this last issue was a serious concern for me because 2 of my greatest pleasures in life are cooking and eating. And what about my relationships? My father was, and he is today, a charter captain, a professional fisherman. My uncle has been an avid hunter his entire life. My Jewish stepmother made the best matzo ball soup this side of the equator. My Italian nana thrived on overstuffing us, full of her lasagna marinara. My half-Lebanese mother served an Arabic lamb dish as a centerpiece for every special occasion. So what would happen if I rejected the traditions that bonded me to my family? What I didn't realize back then was that although change is always somewhat scary and changing ingrained behaviors is always somewhat challenging, this kind of change would also be tremendously empowering. I didn't realize that I would be healthier today at 45 than I was when I was half my age, or that I'd be able to cook and eat even more abundantly. And I didn't realize that the deepest bonds with others are forged not through unquestioningly following the dictates of tradition, but by becoming the kind of person who practices authenticity and integrity, the cornerstones of meaningful relationships. We care about animals, and we care about the truth. And carnism depends on our not caring, and the system is built on deception. I've been talking about eating animals for 20 years now, and I have never encountered a person who doesn't cringe when faced with images of animals suffering. So the good news is that carnism is really a house of cards. It's a vulnerable system that needs a strong fortress to protect itself from its very own proponents, us. Why else would we need to go through all the psychological acrobatics if not because we care? And so our caring is both the problem and the solution. Our caring is what makes us want to turn away from the truth. But our caring is also what gives us the courage to face the truth, to bear witness. Throughout the history of humankind, virtually every atrocity was made possible because the populace turned away from a reality they felt was too painful to face. And virtually every social transformation, every revolution was made possible because a group of people chose to bear witness. And they demanded that others bear witness as well. For instance, just consider the countless witnesses, the conscientious objectors throughout history. Some who have been famous, but most who are the unsung heroes of social transformation. This transformative potential of collective witnessing is why oppressive systems must deny the truth about the social movements that challenge them. So, for instance, proponents of the movements are portrayed as biased or extremist when they challenge the biases and extreme practices of the dominant culture. Or they're portrayed as overly emotional and sensationalist when they challenge the apathy and numbing of the dominant culture. And the true power and scope of the social movement is minimized or denied. So despite what mainstream carnistic culture would have us believe, there is reason to be very, very hopeful. The vegan movement, which is the counterpoint to carnism, is thriving. For instance, since 2008, the number of vegetarians and vegans in the US has doubled. A recent Business Week article entitled The Rise of the Power Vegan says that a growing number of America's most powerful bosses have become vegan. More and more leaders and celebrities are saying no to carnism. Ellen has her own website dedicated to going vegan. Vegan cookbooks, innovative foods, restaurants, recipes, medical doctors are springing up everywhere. So moving beyond carnism enables us to step into a vibrant community of millions of people who seek to celebrate life and cultivate compassion. It enables us to become a part of something greater than our individual selves.
Meat, cheese, milk, eggs. They're the protein-rich foods we were raised on. But instead of making us strong, are these foods making us sick? That's the blockbuster claim life-changer Dr. Colin Campbell and his medical student son Tom make in the China study, the most comprehensive health and nutrition study ever conducted. A stunning 30-year endeavor partnering Cornell and Oxford universities and concluding your diet can reverse cancer and heart disease, even get you off medications for diabetes and MS. Now he's explaining the dangers of an animal protein diet to best-selling wellness author Extras Kathy Preston.
You saying that animal protein causes cancer?
Yes, when it's consumed in excess of the amount of protein we need.
And most of us eat 2.5 times the amount we need.
It shifts the balance of hormones. It increases the rate at which cells divide and grow as part of the cancer process.
At each step, more animal protein created more trouble.
What would you say to a mother who's giving her baby or child milk to build strong bones and grow?
I said dairy is not a good food at any age, especially for children. The countries that consume the least dairy have the lowest rates of osteoporosis.
Is there really hope that you could reverse the process of cancer or heart disease with a diet?
You certainly can with heart disease.
Almost 100% of diabetics, once they switch to a plant-based diet, can get off their insulin.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
They were able to suspend and stop multiple sclerosis in 95% of the cases.
Suspend or stop it?
Or stop it.
It's almost like food as medicine.
Food as medicine. It's the revolutionary approach giving hope to patients everywhere.
Turning to a plant-based diet, you're saying is up there with perhaps surgery and chemotherapy?
Yes.
Just one of the blockbuster claims Dr. Colin Campbell and his son Tom make to special correspondent Kathy Preston and in their book, The China Study.
This information is vastly superior to the way that we now do things.
But get this, according to the current government food pyramid, you're looking at an acceptable day's worth of nutrients.
And of course this food is toxic. I mean literally it's toxic.
Colin Campbell spent 30 years researching plant-based nutrition and illnesses like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes.
Not only do they prevent these diseases, but they can actually suspend them when they're already present.
For optimal health, Dr. Campbell says, stick with antioxidant-rich colored vegetables, fruits, potatoes, and whole grains. What to stay away from?
I would say dairy, meat, too much alcohol.
I might throw in soda, refined sugars.
But all of our main diseases, heart attacks, and strokes. Most of the cancers, prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, ovarian cancer, kidney disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, high blood pressure, obesity, asthma, 4 main factors that cause them. Now I know about other factors. I'm not saying that you can't get sick elsewhere. Of course you can. Smoking, drinking, stress, chemicals in the environment, high fructose corn syrup, Twinkies. I know about the other things that can lead to an ailment, but the 4 main factors are found inside of meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. Cholesterol, saturated fat, trans fatty acids, animal protein. And I repeat that last one that nobody wants to hear about, animal protein. But when you go vegan, did you know that you eliminate cholesterol entirely from your diet? You can only get cholesterol from meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. And your body makes cholesterol on its own. That's the only such thing as good cholesterol. If you bring it in from an outside source, it's automatically bad cholesterol. You can take out around 95% of saturated fat when you go vegan, and you can take out all the naturally occurring trans fatty acids too. Keep this in mind, between 2 to 9% of all meat and all dairy naturally comprised of trans fatty acids. And you can obviously take out all of animal protein. Now, animal protein is way too acidic for the human body. We don't process it properly. It is the main reason why 1 in 3 meat eaters continually get cancer. And it's one of the main causes of osteoporosis. Were you aware that when animal protein enters the human body, it makes our blood acidic instantaneously? But our blood can't stay acidic for long or else we die. So our body has to figure out instantly how to neutralize the acidity. I have some good news and some bad news. Let's start with the good. Our bodies have figured out how to neutralize the acidity. Bad news. There's only one way to make it happen at this point. With phosphate. There's only one source of phosphate in the human body. Bones. Just so you know, our bones are comprised of 2 things. Calcium phosphate, and they're binded together. So our body leaches calcium phosphate out of the bones, takes the phosphate to neutralize the acidity, and then we pee out the calcium. This is why every single epidemiological study, those are the ones done on human populations, every single one shows that societies that consume the most amount of animal protein have the worst rates of osteoporosis, bone fractures, and cancers. While societies that consume little to no animal protein, the vegan and vegetarian ones, Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Rastafarians, Seventh-day Adventists, have little to no rates of osteoporosis, bone fractures, and cancers.
If you look at a chart of your average carnivore, your average omnivore, herbivore, and frugivore, you'll find that we fall completely. Every organ in our body is that of an herbivore, frugivore, not of an omnivore or carnivore.
We have 2 hands and 2 feet, and we walk erect. All of the carnivores have 4 feet and perform their locomotion using all 4s. Tails. Carnivores have tails. Humans do not. Tongues. Only the truly carnivorous animals have rasping, rough tongues. All other creatures have smooth tongues. Claws.
A lion's claws are like razors.
Our lack of claws makes ripping skin or tough flesh extremely difficult. We possess much weaker, flat fingernails instead. Opposable thumbs. Our opposable thumbs make us extremely well equipped to collect a meal of fruit in a matter of a few seconds. Most people find the process effortless. All we have to do is pick it. The claws of carnivores allow them to catch their prey in a matter of seconds as well. We could no more catch and rip the skin or tough flesh of a deer or antelope than a lion could pick mangoes or bananas. Births. Humans usually have children 1 at a time. Carnivores typically give birth to litters. Colon formation. Our convoluted colons are quite different in design from the smooth colons of carnivorous animals. Intestinal length. Our intestinal tract measures roughly 12 times the length of our torsos, about 30 feet. This allows for the slow absorption of sugars and other waterborne nutrients from fruit. In contrast, the digestive tract of a carnivore is only 3 times the length of its torso. This is necessary to avoid rotting or decomposition of flesh inside the animal. The carnivore depends upon highly acidic secretions to facilitate rapid digestion and absorption in its very short tube. Still, the putrefaction of proteins and the rancidity of fats is evident in their feces. Mammary glands. The multiple teats on the abdomens of carnivores do not coincide with the pair of mammary glands on the chest of humans. Sleep. Humans spend roughly 2/3 of every 24-hour cycle actively awake. Carnivores typically sleep and rest from 18 to 20 hours per day, and sometimes more. Microbial tolerance. Most carnivores can digest microbes that would be deadly for humans, such as those that cause botulism. Perspiration. Humans sweat from pores in their entire body. Carnivores sweat from the tongue only. Vision. Our sense of vision responds to the full spectrum of color, making it possible to distinguish ripe from unripe fruit at a distance. Meat eaters do not typically see in full color. Drinking. Should we need to drink water, we can suck it with our lips, but we cannot lap it up. Carnivores' tongues protrude outward so they can lap water when they need to drink. Vitamin C. Carnivores manufacture their own vitamin C. For us, vitamin C is an essential nutrient that we must get from our food. Jaw movement. Our ability to grind our food is unique to plant eaters. Meat eaters have no lateral movement in their jaws. Teeth. The molars of carnivores are pointed and sharp. Ours are primarily flat for mashing food. Our quote-unquote canine teeth bear no resemblance to true fangs, nor do we have a mouth full of them, as a true carnivore does. Tolerance for fat. We do not handle more than small quantities of fat well. Meat eaters thrive on a high-fat diet. Saliva and urine pH. All of the plant-eating creatures, including healthy humans, maintain alkaline saliva and urine most of the time. The saliva and urine of meat-eating animals, however, is highly acidic. Stomach acid pH. The pH level of the hydrochloric acid that humans produce in their stomachs generally ranges about 3 to 4 or higher, but can go as low as 2.0. 0 equaling the most acidic, 7 equaling neutral, and 14 being the most alkaline. The stomach acid of cats and other meat eaters can be in the 1 range and usually runs in the 2s. Because the pH scale is logarithmic, this means the stomach acid of a carnivore is at least 10 times stronger than that of a human and can be 100 or even 1,000 times stronger. Uricase. True carnivores secrete an enzyme called uricase to metabolize the uric acid in flesh. We secrete none, and so must neutralize this strong acid with our own alkaline minerals, primarily calcium. The resulting calcium urate crystals are one of the many pathogens of meat eating, in this case giving rise to or contributing to gout, arthritis, rheumatism, and bursitis. Cleanliness. We are the most particular of all creatures about the cleanliness of our food. Carnivores are the least picky, and will eat dirt, bugs, organic debris, and other items along with their food. Natural appetite. I saved this one for last, because this should say it all. Our mouths water at the sight and smells of the produce market. These are living foods, the source of our sustenance. But the smell of animals usually puts us off. Carnivores' mouths water at the sight of prey, and they react to the smell of animals as though they sense food. Our anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology all indicate that we are not carnivores. To say that carnivores eat carnage or flesh does not accurately portray such creatures. Animals that live on other animals usually eat raw meat, straight from the carcass, with relish. Carnivores consume most of the animals, not merely the flesh, eating the muscle meat as well as the organs, and lapping up the warm, fresh blood and other bodily fluids with gusto. They delight in the guts and their partially digested contents. They even crush, split, and eat the smaller bones, and their marrow and gristle. Most of us love animals as fellow creatures on earth. We do not salivate at the idea of crushing the life out of a rabbit with our bare hands and teeth, and the thought of eating one in a freshly killed state is repulsive.
Oh, I hope this isn't full of maggots or anything.
We certainly do not enjoy chewing on bones,
It's so squidgy.
gristle, entrails, chunks of raw fat and flesh, and the hair and vermin that inevitably accompany them. We cannot imagine slurping hot blood, getting it all over our faces, hands, and bodies. These behaviors are alien to our natural disposition and are actually sickening.
This looks strange. More rabbit.
So if you look at your pet cat and aren't too enticed, it's alright. It's alright. You were never designed to eat him in the first place. Feel free to go down to your local produce market, enjoy the sights and smells, and pick yourself some whole, fresh, ripe, raw, delicious fruits and vegetables.
Every year the CDC updates the latest leading causes of death in the United States. So let's start at the top and go down the list, see what's new in each category. Heart disease, number one, the 35-year follow-up of the Harvard Nurses' Health Study just published. Now, the most definitive long-term study on older women's health we have. Since the study started, thousands of participants died, but that allowed them to study the risk factors for mortality. Because heart disease was the leading cause of death, it comes as no surprise that dietary cholesterol intake, right, was a significant risk factor for dying. The second leading cause was smoking-related cancer deaths. But what's so neat about this study is that it's a competing risks analysis. Right? So it allowed them to compare different risks to one another. So consuming the amount of cholesterol found in just a single egg a day appears to cut a woman's life short as much as smoking 5 cigarettes a day for 15 years. The most protective behavior they found was fiber consumption. Eating just a cup of oatmeal's worth of fiber a day appears to extend a woman's life as much as 4 hours of jogging a week. Though you can do both. So it's worth noting that, look, the intake of cholesterol only found in animal foods was associated with living a shorter life, and the intake of fiber only found in plant foods associated with living a longer life. Yeah, heart disease, number one cause of death, but what if your cholesterol is normal, right? Hear that all the time from patients, right? Have to break it to them. Look, having a normal cholesterol in a society where it's normal to drop dead of a heart attack, not necessarily a good thing. And remember, it's our number one killer, right? In a huge study last year, most heart attack patients fell within the recommended targets for cholesterol, demonstrating that the current diet guidelines just are not low enough to cut heart attack risk. Close to half of heart attack victims had cholesterol levels classified in the guidelines as optimal, though I'm not sure their grieving spouses and orphan children will take much comfort in that fact. What is considered optimal is still way too high. Yeah, having a below average cholesterol, reduces your risk, but as the editor-in-chief of the American Journal of Cardiology wrote more than a decade ago, it's time to shift, right, from just decreasing risk to actually preventing and arresting atherosclerosis. We don't want low risk, we want no risk. How do you do it? Well, for the buildup of plaque in our arteries to cease, it appears that we have to get our total cholesterol down to be about 150, right? In other words, the cholesterol must be lowered to that of your average pure vegetarian. Now, but because relatively few people are willing to abide by the vegetarian lifestyle, drugs are required, to get down to similar levels, right? So it's our choice. Why not just choose the drugs, right? Well, no, that's a good question. Well, as the good doctor noted last night, the FDA just announced newly mandated safety labeling by law to cholesterol-lowering statin drugs, right? So this is Lipitor, Mevacor, Crestor, Zocor, Vytorin, that kind of thing. The FDA issued new side effect warning labels this year regarding the increased risks, brain-related risks, associated memory loss and confusion, an increase in blood sugar levels, as well as new onset diabetes. One prominent cardiologist described this kind of Faustian bargain: yes, fewer heart attacks, but more diabetes, right? With all the memory loss and confusion caused by these drugs, folks may have forgot there's actually a way to reduce the risk of heart attacks and diabetes at the same time. Called the plant-based diet. All right, now cholesterol is just half of the heart disease story. The other half is inflammation. Right? We've known for 15 years that a single meal high in animal fat, sausage and egg McMuffin was used in the original study, can paralyze our arteries, right? Cutting their ability to relax normally in half within hours of eating animal products. The whole lining of our vascular tree gets inflamed and stiffened, right? And just as that inflammation, so here's hours, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just as that inflammation, right? Just as that crippling of our arteries starts to finally calm down after 5 or 6 hours, lunchtime, right? And then we may whack our arteries with another load of meat, eggs, or dairy, right? And so most people are in this chronic state of low-grade inflammation, increasing risk for these inflammation-related diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, one meal at a time. Does the same thing to our lungs. Right? Again, within hours, inflammation in our airways. A single meal causing internal damage, not just years down the road, but literally right then and there, that day, within hours of it going into your mouth. And just this year, we finally figured out, we finally solved the mystery as to why. And it doesn't appear to be the animal fat itself. And it's apparently not the animal protein, which is what's implicated in the inflammation from arthritis. Cut to the chase, spoiler alert. After a meal of animal products, people suffer from endotoxemia. Their bloodstream becomes awash with bacterial toxins, known as endotoxins, that are present in the animal products. So, I mean, no wonder our body goes crazy. These dead meat bacteria toxins aren't destroyed by stomach acid, aren't destroyed by pancreatic enzymes, right? Aren't destroyed by cooking. They tried boiling meat for hours, still didn't work. So these bacterial toxins were found to be highly resistant to cooking and our body's best attempts at acid and enzyme digestion. Now, the animal fat actually does play a profound role in this whole process by ferrying the bacterial toxins present in the meat through the gut into our system. So the reason animal products trigger immediate inflammation appears to be because they're so loaded with bacteria that can trigger inflammation dead or alive, even if they're fully cooked. And then saturated animal fat then boosts the absorption of these toxins into our bloodstream. So now that we know what's going on, what do we have to do? Well, from a 2012 follow-up, the most obvious solution to this metabolic endotoxemia, okay, well, we can reduce saturated fat intake, which in this country is mostly cheese and chicken, but the Western diet is not conducive to this mode of action, and it is difficult for patients to comply with this request. So what? Let's not even tell them, right? I mean, this patronizing attitude in the medical profession of, oh, patients won't change their diet or stop smoking. I mean, even if it's going to kill them, so why bother, right? That attitude may be one of the real leading causes of death. But let's get back. But let's get back to the official list and take on cancer next. What's the latest? Well, we know from the largest forward-looking study on diet and cancer ever performed by humanity, the incidence of all cancers combined lower among vegetarians than meat eaters, especially some of the fastest growing tumors like lymphomas and leukemias. And for that, the worst meat was actually poultry, chicken. Up to triple the rates for every 50 grams of poultry consumption. A quarter of a chicken breast, triple your risk. Okay, but the link between meat and cancer is such that even the Journal of Meat Science last year asked, should we become vegetarians? Or they said, can we make meat safer? There's a bunch of additives, for example, that can suppress the toxic effects of the blood-based iron, the heme iron found in meat. Now, the additives are still under study, but could provide an acceptable way to prevent colon cancer, right? Because avoiding meat, obviously, completely out of the question. I mean, that's... They fear that if the National Cancer Institute recommendations to reduce meat consumption were adhered to, sure, cancer incidence may be reduced, but farmers in the meat industry would suffer important economic problems. Now, for those of us more concerned about the suffering caused by the meat industry rather than the suffering of the meat industry, what happens if you put cancer on a vegan diet? Well, the Pritikin Research Foundation just completed this elegant series of experiments, which I want to spend a bit of time on. Simple experiments. They put people on different diets, draw their blood, and then drip their blood on cancer cells growing in a petri dish, and just stood back to see whose blood was better at suppressing cancer growth. They're the ones that published that study showing that the blood of those on a vegan diet was dramatically less hospitable to cancer. Now, even the blood of those on a standard American diet fights cancer. I mean, if it didn't, everybody'd be dead, right? It's just that the blood of those eating vegan fights about 8 times better. The blood of those on a standard American diet suppresses cancer growth by about 9%. You put people on a plant-based diet for a year, though, and their blood just tears it up. Right? The blood circulating through the bodies of vegans has nearly 8 times the stopping power when it comes to cancer cell growth. Now, this is for prostate cancer, most common cancer among men. For women, it's breast cancer. So the Pritikin researchers tried duplicating this study with women using breast cancer cells instead. Now, they didn't want to wait a whole year to get the results, so they figured they'd try to see what a plant-based diet could do in just 2 weeks against 3 different types of human breast cancer. This is the before, cancer growth rates powering away at 100%, and then this is after eating a plant-based diet for just 14 days. Now, slowing down cancer growth is great, but getting rid of them, getting rid of cancer cells is even better. This is before and after measuring cancer cell death, right? This is the before, and this is the after. Pre and post plants. The same blood now coursing through these women's bodies gained the power to significantly slow down and stop breast cancer growth thanks to just 2 weeks of eating a plant-based diet. What kind of blood do we want in our body? What kind of immune system, right? Do we want blood that's just kind of roll over when new cancer cells pop up, right? Or do we want blood circulating to every nook and cranny within our bodies with the power to slow down and stop them? Now, this strengthening of cancer defenses was after 14 days of a plant-based diet and exercise. They were out walking 30 to 60 minutes a day. Well, maybe the only reason their bodies became, so effective at suppressing cancer cell growth was because of the exercise. Maybe diet didn't have anything to do with it. So they put it to the test. This is measuring cancer cell clearance. And this is what we saw before, the effect of blood taken from those eating a plant-based diet, in this case for 14 years, along with mild exercise, just like walking every day, right? So, plant-based diets, walking, that's the kind of cancer cell clearance you get. Now, compare that to the cancer-stopping power of your average sedentary. You see this little burger, apple? Sorry, I can't. All right. On the website, it's a little. Okay, compared to the cancer-stopping power of your average sedentary meat eater, which is basically non-existent. Okay. But what about this middle group? Now, this middle group, instead of 14 years on a plant-based diet, they had 14 years of the standard American diet, but had daily strenuous hour-long exercise, like boot camp this morning. Seriously, calisthenics, right? They wanted to know, if you exercise hard enough and long enough, can you rival some strolling vegans? All right. Let's find out. And exercise worked, no question, right? But literally 5,000 hours in the gym, no match for a plant-based diet. Okay, just 13 leading causes of death to go. All right, let's run through the list here. The top 3 killers used to be heart disease, cancer, stroke. Oh, that is so 2011. Now it's heart disease, cancer, and COPD, like emphysema. All right. So thankfully, COPD can be prevented with a plant-based diet and even treated with plants, if you want to check that out. Now, of course, the tobacco industry took these landmark findings a little differently. Instead of adding plants to people's diets to prevent emphysema, wouldn't it be simpler to just add them to cigarettes? And voila, the addition of acai berries to cigarettes evidently has a protective effect against emphysema in smoking mice. Next, they're going to start putting berries in meat, right? I couldn't make this up, people. Look at this. Adding fruit extracts to burgers, right? Now, this was not without its glitches. The blackberries literally dyed the burgers with this kind of distinct purplish color. Though infusing lamb carcasses with kiwi fruit juice before rigor mortis set in does evidently lead to greater tenderness in the meat. And it is possible to improve the nutritional profile of frankfurters by adding ground up grape seeds. Though there were complaints that the grapeseed particles, right, were visible in the final product. And look, if there's one thing we know about hot dog eaters, it's that they're picky about what goes in their food. Right? Pig anus, okay, but grapeseed? Preventing strokes. Number 4. Preventing strokes is all about eating potassium-rich foods. Potassium from the words potash. You take any plant, put it in a pot, reduce it to ash, and what you're left with is potassium. True story. But can anyone name me a plant food particularly high in potassium? Why is that like the one thing everyone knows about nutrition? Seriously. Like, did Chiquita have like this great PR firm or something? I bet you could walk into the Heart Attack Grill where they're eating food like this, right? Ask anyone, and they'd be like, I don't know, Dave, but I do know bananas got potassium, right? Right? All right. In reality, bananas don't even make the top 50 sources. Coming in at number 86, right behind fast food vanilla milkshakes. And then bananas. All right. In the top 5 sources are tomato and orange concentrates. And in terms of the whole food sources, it is greens, beans, and dates. In fact, if you look at the next leading cause of death, right, bananas could be downright dangerous. Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's now our 6th leading cause of death. We've known for 20 years now that those who eat meat, red or white, including poultry and fish, were between 2 and 3 times more likely to become demented compared to vegetarians. And the longer that you're vegetarian, the lower your risk of developing dementia. But the exciting new research is actually on treating Alzheimer's using these natural plant remedies, which actually beat out placebo and worked as well as the leading Alzheimer's drug. Again, on the website, all for free. Next on the kick the bucket list is diabetes, which can be prevented with a plant-based diet and treated with a plant-based diet and even reversed in many cases with a plant-based diet. And I encourage everyone to check out Brenda's talk at 3 o'clock this afternoon. This is from October. Those eating vegetarian had significantly lower rates than meat eaters, right? But it was the vegans that did the best. And this is the surprising thing, this was after controlling for obesity, right? Sure, vegans got lower diabetes rates, right? They're so skinny, right? But even at the same weight, vegans have just a fraction of the diabetes risk, right? Kidney failure, 8th leading cause of death, can be prevented with a plant-based diet, can be treated with a plant-based diet. Why? Because our kidneys are highly vascular organs, right? That's why kidneys look so red inside. Right? Our 2 little kidneys filter through our entire bloodstream. And so, if the standard American diet is so toxic to blood vessels in our heart, brain, and pelvis, leading to heart attack, stroke, sexual dysfunction, what might it be doing to our kidneys? Long story short, Harvard researchers found 3 significant risk factors for declining kidney function, meaning you start to lose protein out of your urine. Your body's not supposed to be peeing out its protein. The 3 risk factors for declining kidney function were animal protein, animal fat, and cholesterol. Right? It's not protein, it's not fat. Animal protein, animal fat. No relationship found with plant protein and plant fat. Not only do vegans appear to have better kidney function, but dramatic improvements were found treating kidney failure patients with pure vegetarian diets after just 1 week. All right. Leading killer number 9 is people dying from respiratory infections. Check out my video, Kale and the Immune System, talking about the immunostimulatory effects of kale. Is there anything kale can't do? And if you look at my video, Boosting Immunity Through Diet, which is actually, if you can see this, June 28th, this is just the video of the day that went up on Wednesday. You can see that eating just a few extra fruits and vegetables can significantly improve one's immune response to pneumococcal pneumonia. Suicide is number 10. Now, last year at Summerfest, I talked about improving mood through diet. We know vegetarian diets have been associated with healthier mood states, but you don't know if it's cause and effect until you put it to the test. And that's what was done this year. You take regular meat eaters and you remove meat, fish, poultry, and eggs in this study from their diets. And you can see a significant improvement in mood scores after just 2 weeks. I mean, it can take drugs like Prozac, months to take effect. In fact, the way drugs like Prozac work is they boost the levels of the so-called happiness hormone serotonin. Did you know that there is serotonin in plants? I had no idea. I certainly didn't. But there's serotonin and dopamine and all sorts of human neurotransmitters in plants. So much so, there's been a call to start treating depression with high-content sources of serotonin. Like plantains, pineapples, bananas, kiwis, plums, and tomatoes. Right? And what's the side effects? You get a little seed stuck in your teeth or something? Right? Maybe that's why high intake of fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, and soy associated with decreased prevalence of depression. Right? Maybe that's why improved behavior in teenagers was significantly associated with higher intakes of leafy green vegetables and fresh fruit. For more, keep an eye out for my videos on the wrong way to boost serotonin, which is by these tryptophan supplements, a better way to raise serotonin to fight things like premenstrual depression, and then the best way, as reported in this double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover study on the successful use of butternut squash seeds in the treatment of social anxiety disorder, for example. Amazing. How might a plant-based diet prevent systemic infections? Well, meat-borne bacteria can directly invade one's bloodstream through the intestinal wall, or in women can creep up into their bladder. Just this month, June 2012, we have direct DNA fingerprinting proof, finally, right, that women eating meat are getting urinary tract infections from eating meat contaminated with fecal bacteria that then crawl up into their bladder. Right? And chickens are the most likely reservoir. Wait a second. You can't sell unsafe cars. You can't sell unsafe toys. How is it legal to sell unsafe meat? Well, they do it by blaming the consumer. Right? As one USDA poultry microbiologist said, raw meats are not idiot-proof. They can be mishandled, and when they are, it's like handling a hand grenade. You pull the pin, someone's going to get hurt. See, if we get sick, it's our fault. Right? Now, while some may question the wisdom of selling hand grenades in supermarkets, the USDA poultry expert disagrees. Says, I think the consumer has the most responsibility, but just refuses to accept it. Right? We did kidney failure. What about liver failure? We've known for 35 years, since now you can't even see this, 1977, that a vegetable protein diet can be used to treat liver failure, significantly reducing the toxins that otherwise would build up eating meat with a less than functional liver, right? Imagine eating meat without a fully functioning liver to detoxify your blood. Right? I do have to admit, though, that some people living on plant-based diets have worsening liver function. They're called alcoholics. In fact, strictly plant-based, right? Living on potatoes and corn and barley and grapes. Still, however, not doing so hot. It's unclear. High blood pressure is up next, so-called essential hypertension, essentially only found in those who eat meat. Again, look at this. We've known for decades, since 1974 out of Hopkins, right? We've known that consumption of foods of animal origin highly significantly associated with blood pressure even after, again, the weight effects are removed. Right? Fast forward 39 years to 2012, and compared to non-vegetarians, compared to meat eaters, as you get more and more plant-based, right? So meat eater to flexitarian, to just eating fish, to lacto-vegetarian to vegan, looks what happens to hypertension, high blood pressure, right? There is this progressive reduction in risk to just a tiny fraction. Right? See the same thing in diabetes. Here's diabetes, right? Again, the stepwise reduction of risk as one eliminates animal products on down. Right? And same thing with body mass index, right? As you can see, obesity rates get lower and lower. In fact, vegans are actually the only population, on average, that was not overweight. Even the vegetarians were overweight. All right. Diabetes, hypertension, leading causes of death. Is it going to take the medical profession another 39 years before we actually do something about it? How long does it take being vegan to bring blood pressures down? 12 days. Right? McDougall took 500 meat eaters, put them on a vegan diet over a span of 11 days. Dropped their blood pressure 6%, about double that drop in those that were hypertensive to begin with. 14th leading killer, Parkinson's disease. Does a vegan diet reduce risk for Parkinson's disease? Good question. Well, we know that every single prospective study ever done on dairy products, milk consumption, and the risk of Parkinson's disease found increased risk of Parkinson's. Why? Well, one possibility is that dairy products in the United States are contaminated with neurotoxic chemicals. There's substantial evidence suggesting that exposure to pesticides may increase Parkinson's disease risk. And these autopsy studies have found that the levels of these pollutants and pesticides in the brains of elevated levels in the brains of Parkinson's disease patients, and some of these toxins are present at low levels in dairy products. And they're talking about toxins like tetrahydroisoquinoline, which is a Parkinsonism-related compound found particularly in cheese. Now, although the amounts of this neurotoxin, even in cheese, are not very high, the concern is that they may accumulate. These neurotoxins may accumulate in the brain over long periods of consumption. And finally, aspiration pneumonia, which is caused by swallowing problems due to Parkinson's or having a stroke or Alzheimer's, all of which we've already covered. All right, so where does that leave us? These are the top 15 causes of death, the top 15 reasons Americans die. And a plant-based diet can help prevent nearly all of them, can help treat more than half of them, and in some cases even reverse the progression of disease, including our top 3 killers. Now, there are drugs that can help too, right? You can take one drug to treat cholesterol every day for the rest of your life, another drug for blood sugars, a few more pills for your blood pressure. Right? The same diet, though, does it all, right? It's not like, one diet for this and then a different diet for this, right? One diet to rule them all. And what about drug side effects? Right? I'm not talking about a little rash or something. Prescription drugs kill more than 100,000 Americans every year. And I'm not talking about medication errors, not abuse, not overdose. We're talking, this is just deaths from side effects, so-called ADRs, adverse drug reactions to prescription drugs. Wait a second, 100,000 deaths a year? That means, let's go down the list. Whoa, that means that the 6th leading cause of death in the United States is doctors. The 6th leading cause of death is me. Thankfully, I can be prevented with a plant-based diet.
Hey, Ivory.
Yeah, Jonathan.
You're vegan, right?
Yes, that's right, I am.
Can I ask you some questions then?
Sure, man. Of course you can.
Are you ready for the questions then?
What are you waiting for?
Where do you get your protein? Protein, protein. Only meat has protein, so where do you get your protein?
Actually, lots of things have protein. Beans have protein. Greens have protein. Fruits and nuts have protein. Grains and seeds have protein. And here's the thing that's so obscene. Don't need so much protein. Most people eat more than they need.
Well, I never knew that before.
It's true.
Where do you get your calcium? Only milk has calcium. Healthy bones from cow's milk. Calcium, I drink it, yum.
Lots of plants have calcium and lots of calcium. And cholesterol, well, they have none of the fat found in milk.
Calcium, no fat? Greens give me calcium?
Lots of calcium.
What about our ancestors? Didn't they eat meat? If I wasn't supposed to eat it, then why do I have these teeth?
Do your teeth look like a carnivore's, all sharp and pointy like? No, you gotta cook your meat over a roaring firelight. Furthermore, all carnivores act on instinct, but humans make the choices they consider and they think. If humans of old ate meat, it was a choice, not a necessity.
Well, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, we have these choices.
If everyone were vegan, what about all the cows and all the gajillion chickens that are living on farms now?
If everyone were vegan, it wouldn't happen overnight. Demand would just decline, and so would the supply.
Isn't vegan food just bland and gross?
No, it's yummy funnier than most.
You care about animals more, you do.
I care about animals, people too.
Aren't vegan men weak and girly?
I find vegan men quite sexy.
B12, so they're haha.
B12's for bacteria.
Where do you get your protein?
Plants.
Where do you get calcium?
Plants.
Where do you get your iron?
Plants.
Where do you get your zinc?
Plants.
Where do you get your protein?
Plants.
Where do you get calcium?
Plants.
Where do you get your iron?
Plants.
Where do you get your zinc?
Plants.
Hey, Ivory.
Yeah, Jonathan.
I think I get it now.
You do?
Yeah, it's all about plants.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Glad we cleared it up.
Me too. Let's have a snack.
Okay.